Something called my twins from the closet, and now they won't stop whispering 60 in their sleep. I think I lost them the moment I hit that number. Where are you watching this from? Just curious how far this story will travel. It started like any other rainy afternoon. The sky had been grumbling since noon, and by 3 o'clock, the clouds finally gave up holding back. Rain tapped gently on the kitchen window while I was trying to finish folding a basket of laundry that had been sitting there, mocking me, for 2 days. The kind of afternoon where the air smells like wet concrete, and the only plans you have involved staying dry and figuring out how to entertain 2 restless 5-year-olds without handing over the tablet. Jordan and Casey had already torn through every puzzle, every block set, and the remains of a pillow fort now sagged sadly in the living room. That's when Casey came in, socks sliding across the hardwood floor, her curls bouncing like she'd just invented the game of the century. "Let's play hide and seek," she declared, arms stretched wide like it was a revelation. Jordan followed, dragging a stuffed dinosaur by the tail, already nodding like they'd been plotting it together. Before I could answer, Casey grabbed my hand and said something that made me pause, just a little. "Count to 60, Mommy. Exactly 60. Or you lose." I laughed. "What happens if I mess up? Do I get banned from the next round?" Jordan tilted his head, serious as a tiny judge. "No, you just lose." They ran off before I could press them further, giggling and whispering to each other as they vanished around the corner. I stood there for a second longer than I should have, staring at the hallway they'd disappeared down. It wasn't the game that gave me pause, it was that line. Exactly 60. It wasn't how they usually played. They'd never said that before. But I shrugged it off. Kids say weird things all the time. Last week, Casey tried to convince me that her reflection in the bathroom mirror wasn't really her. They're 5. Reality is more like a suggestion to them. Still, I sat on the couch and began counting out loud, slowly, letting each number stretch out across the room. 1, 2, 3. The rain kept falling. The laundry stayed folded. And for a few brief minutes, it was just the sound of counting and rain, layered over the quiet thrum of a house that felt, just for a moment, too still. I opened my eyes at 60, and the house felt wrong. You know how homes have their own rhythms? The little sounds you don't even notice until they stop? That was the first thing I noticed. The silence. There should have been footsteps, whispers, the distant scuffle of socks across floors, laughter, at least a giggle or two. Instead, there was nothing. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the soft drip of rain outside. Even the air felt like it was holding its breath. I called their names. Light at first, playful, still in the spirit of the game. No answer. I stood up and walked through the kitchen. The lights flickered once, just a quick blink, like someone had flipped the switch halfway and changed their mind. I paused. Waited. Nothing happened. The light held steady. "Okay," I called again. "I'm coming to find you." Still trying to sound cheerful. Still pretending this was all part of the game. The living room was empty. Couch cushions still piled up from the earlier fort. The hallway. No giggles. No tiny footsteps rushing to a new hiding spot. The bathroom door was wide open. Closet too. I checked behind the curtains, under the dining table, even inside the toy chest. Nothing. That's when I noticed the front door. It was open. Just slightly, but enough to let in a cold thread of air that curled around my ankles and made me stop breathing. The doorknob was damp from the rain. I stepped closer, pushed it all the way open. The front steps glistened, dark and wet, and just beyond them, I saw the footprints. Small. Barefoot. 2 sets. Only going in. That was the moment. That exact moment, standing there, staring at those wet little prints on my floor, realizing there were none going out, that was when I called the police. Officer Daly showed up fast. Too fast. I swear it hadn't even been 5 minutes since the call. One moment I was pacing the entryway, phone still in hand, trying to decide if I should check the backyard, and the next, I saw the cruiser pulling up through the rain. No siren, no rush, Just the steady crawl of someone who already knew exactly where they were going. He got out smiling. That same smile he wore every year at the school safety talks. John Daly. Local. Friendly. The kind of guy who gave kids stickers and carried dog treats in his pocket. I didn't even realize I was crying until he handed me a tissue and said, "It's okay, I've got kids. We'll find Jordan and Casey." I didn't remember saying their names. I must have. I had to have. Maybe I said them when I was on the phone. Maybe dispatch passed it along. That's what I told myself. I kept repeating that as he gave me a firm, reassuring squeeze on the shoulder and stepped inside. "Let me take a quick look through the house," he said, already moving past me. "You stay here. I'll check all the usual hiding spots." I wanted to follow him, but something in his tone made me stop. Not the words, those were all right, but the rhythm of it. He said it like a line he'd rehearsed. Like something he'd said before. Recently. I watched him go upstairs. His boots made soft, heavy thumps on the carpeted steps. I stood there, unsure whether to scream or just crumble. That's when I saw the drawings. They hadn't been there earlier. I'm sure of it. They were crookedly taped to the fridge, 3 of them. Crayon on printer paper. 2 children, stick figures with scribbled hair, stood on either side of something tall. Something towering. No face, just a black scribble where the head should be. Long arms that stretched to the ground. All 3 were holding hands. And above them, in that unmistakable shaky handwriting only a child could manage, were 2 words. "We promised." Then there was a knock at the back door. Not the front. The back. No one ever used it. Not family, not delivery people. I didn't even keep the porch light on. It caught me so off guard I just froze, halfway to the stairs. 3 short knocks. Then 1 long one. Like it had a pattern. I opened it without thinking. Todd was standing there, soaked through, no umbrella, no jacket, just a faded t-shirt and gym shorts. His face was pale, wet with rain and sweat, and his eyes were wide in a way that made my stomach turn. He didn't say hello. Didn't ask if everything was okay. He just said, "I saw someone in your house." His voice cracked when he said it. He pointed toward his own window. From my kitchen. I looked up and I thought maybe one of the kids got out, but it was someone tall. They were just standing there. Watching. And the lights flickered right after, like they do when the microwave's on and someone's using the dryer at the same time. I tried to process it, tried to string it together with everything else, but nothing made sense anymore. My eyes drifted up the stairs. Officer Daly had been up there too long. Just as I turned to call out, something crashed. It wasn't a small sound. Not a book falling. Not a drawer closing. It was loud enough to shake the wall next to me, like furniture tipping or glass breaking. Todd flinched. I felt my legs move before I realized I was walking toward the staircase. That's when Daly called down. His voice was chipper. Relaxed. Like he was enjoying himself. "It's fine. I found something." He didn't say what. He didn't ask for help. Just that line. I reached for the railing, and that's when I heard the whispering. It came from the baby monitor. It had been dead quiet for years, no batteries, just sitting there in the hallway like a leftover relic from the diaper days. But now it was on. Glowing faintly. 2 voices. Soft. Familiar. She didn't stop at 60. "He's still in here." I ran upstairs. The air changed the moment I reached the landing. It wasn't just colder, it was as if the warmth had been sucked out of the entire house. My breath came out in shallow clouds, even though it was still raining outside, still early spring. The lights overhead were dimmer than they should have been, like someone had turned the brightness way down but forgot to tell me. I moved toward their room, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my ribs. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open and froze. The closet door was moving. Slowly. Creaking open all on its own. I stepped closer, every nerve screaming at me to run the other way, but something I can't explain, pulled me forward. Inside, standing perfectly still, was Officer Daly. His smile was wide, too wide. It didn't reach his eyes. His eyes, they didn't blink. Not once. They just stared at me like empty holes, endless black pits that swallowed the dim light whole. "Found them," he said. But it wasn't his voice. It was deeper. Hollow. Echoing. I wanted to back away, but I couldn't. I was rooted there, trapped between disbelief and fear. Behind him, in the dark space of the closet, two figures stood. Pale. Motionless. My twins. Jordan and Casey. Their eyes were open but blank. They whispered in unison, voices cold and strange, as if coming from far away but right next to me. "We finished the game. He said we belonged to him now." I screamed. I don't even remember pulling the trigger. One moment I was standing there, frozen, and the next, a loud bang shattered the silence. The sound ripped through the house, followed by the crash of something heavy falling downstairs. Then Todd's voice, yelling, panicked, frantic, completely unrecognizable. Everything around me blurred, like I was underwater, distant but aware. I can't say how long it lasted. Minutes. Hours. Time stopped. The chaos folded in on itself. And then, nothing. I was found hours later, curled up and catatonic inside the closet. The air was stale, cold. My skin felt numb, and I couldn't move or speak. Officer Daly was gone. No sign of him anywhere. His car sat outside, engine still running, lights glowing faintly through the rain. The radio inside was on, but instead of voices or static, it played only children's laughter. Soft. Innocent. But the sound felt wrong, like it belonged to another world. When the twins were found, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They were safe. Or so we thought. But there was something off. Something no one could explain. Their eyes, empty. Not quite alive. Their smiles didn't reach their faces anymore. And sometimes, when the house was silent, I swear I hear them whisper again. "We belong to him now." They don't sleep anymore. At least, not like they used to. Casey will sit for hours, just staring at the blank wall in their room. No blinking, no moving, like something inside her has gone quiet and refuses to wake up. It's the kind of silence that fills a room and makes the air feel thick, like waiting for a storm that never arrives. Jordan, on the other hand, talks. But not to me, or anyone else. He talks to someone who isn't there. He calls him 60. At first, I thought it was some imaginary friend, a normal childhood thing. But the way Jordan's eyes follow empty space, the way his smile twitches just a little when he looks at that spot, it's like he's really there. And it's not friendly. Both of them keep drawing. Over and over, they scribble the same figure. A tall, dark shape with no face. No eyes. No mouth. Just emptiness. That figure haunts every drawing, every paper scattered around the house like a silent warning. Doctors run every test they can think of. They say the twins are fine, physically healthy, no signs of illness or trauma. But anyone who looks at them closely can see it. They aren't the kids I knew. Not really. There's something else living inside them now, something quiet and cold. Then, one night, I find a drawing hidden under Jordan's bed. I pick it up with shaking hands, already knowing what I'll see. It's a picture of me, standing inside the closet. But the eyes, they're scratched out. Not just erased. Scratched out, angry and desperate. Like someone wanted to erase me from the world completely. And I wonder, who did that drawing? And what part of me is already gone? I used to think I lost them at 60. Like that moment when I opened my eyes and everything fell apart. But now, I'm not so sure. I think I let something in. Something I didn't see coming, or maybe refused to see. Something that waited for the perfect moment while I was too distracted to notice. Last night, I heard it again. The whispering. Faint at first, barely there, like a breath against my ear. But then it grew clearer, louder. And this time, it wasn't just the twins' voices. It said my name. Soft and slow, like a promise or a warning. 60. 60. Mommy lost. Her turn now. The words stuck with me. Cold and quiet. Like the echo of a game that never really ends. Has anyone else heard of this game? Please, if you ever do, don't count out loud. You don't want to be next. Do you think the twins ever really came back? Or did something else take their place? Have you ever played a game as a kid that just didn't feel right? Drop your theory in the comments. I read every one. This is Eerie Short and Scary Stories. Sleep tight, if you still can.